Nice.
Oh, there we go. I forgot to turn on the audio on the monitor there. Sorry. Good evening, guys, and welcome everybody to Tuesday night. We are the Outdoors Live crew. Thank you so much, everybody who's joining us. If you are just joining us now, watching us after this is no longer live, please consider subscribing. And everybody, of course, hit the thumbs up and do all of the YouTube things. We do appreciate it. Tonight, we have a really special guest. We're going to check in with everybody's weekends. But before we do, we need to introduce Mr. Jerry Mona from Boater Input. Sir, tell us about yourself. I'm going to pull up some photos of you.
Yeah, okay, great. So I am a boating industry insider. I've been working in the boating industry for over 3 decades. And during that time, I've helped major manufacturers and trade associations to develop new products, understand what people think of their brand, identify customer needs and wants, that kind of thing. And so I've been helping them, get to know their customers better. And then a few years back, I launched a consumer website called Boater Input, where I share much of my insights with people, with the boating community, to help them purchase, equip, and maintain their boats, because I felt like there was not a lot of good, objective information available. And so that's what I've been doing for the past few years. So I've got my boaterinput.com website. And then last fall, I went to video and launched the Boater Input YouTube channel. So I'm doing much the same stuff. I'm sharing, I've been a boater and angler. I've been an angler since about the age of 5, and been a passionate boater and angler all my life. And so I've managed to combine my profession with my passion. And so that's what I've been doing I committed my career to boating, basically.
Well, Jerry, thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's a pleasure having you here, and we look forward to being able to pick your brain about that. We're going to have some things we're going to be diving into in just a moment here. Before we do, Grant, John, let's get caught up, man. How was y'all's weekends, and what did we miss? John, you've had 2 weeks now to get caught up with us. What did we miss while you were gone?
Let's see. You missed me retire.
Yeah.
All right.
You missed me. Thank you.
Yes. Cheers.
Congratulations.
Cheers.
We've been doing this countdown for a year.
Cheers.
Congratulations, John.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
Yes.
No problem.
Very awesome.
And done a little bit of work on the boat, right? Figuring some things out that I got to do before I sell it. And got to go shoot the pew-pews today. And a lot of time with the granddaughter.
As exactly what you were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
You retire, going out shooting guns, spending time with the grandchildren. That's like, and fishing. Those are your top 3. So if you haven't done fishing yet, you've still got some bucket list stuff to do.
I do. I seen Grant did some fishing though. Show off.
So I can't give you too big of a hard time up there, John, for missing last week, since it was spending time with your granddaughter. But we did miss you last week. That was a good show. Awesome guest. If you haven't watched last week, just go back and watch the replay. Yeah, we finally got some fishing in. We went Friday afternoon. I talked to several guys. They said they're just not biting yet. We tried minnows in Janet's favorite spot. Nothing. Went down to what I call the old man corner, what other people called Crappie corner. And the 2 on the left of the picture with the 2 I'm holding, that was Friday evening. I caught those 2 and 2 a little bit smaller on a jig. They just would not touch a minnow. We had minnows out there for like 3 hours, never touch them. We'd put a fresh one on there if needed. they wouldn't touch a minnow, but I ended up catching 4 on a crappie jig, a little tube jig. And then we went back. That was Friday afternoon. Went back Sunday afternoon, and I caught 1 tiny crappie on a jig. They wouldn't touch a minnow. Then we went back Monday. Thought maybe it's a night bite. I talked to a few other guys, and they're just like, yeah, they're not biting. Maybe they're biting at night. And then there's 2 guys specifically that I know that fish out there at night all the time. He was rolling out about 5:30. He was rolling in about 5:20. So they're fishing at night. So we went last night. We got out there about 5:30 and fished till 9, and I caught 1 on a minnow that was very nice. That one in the picture on the right, the single by itself, that's the only that Stanley was showing. That's the only crappie I caught, and it was a nice one. It was the full length of my bucket. I didn't measure it because I didn't bring it home. I've got a 5 fish rule. I made the exception Friday since it'd been so long. I brought home 4 crappie, and we ate those. That's what the plate in the middle is. But yeah, last night, man, I caught that one, and then Janet caught one just a hair smaller than that on a minnow. That's the only 2 we caught on minnows, and then I caught 2 rock bass on a crappie jig. And she caught 2 catfish on minnows. She caught 2 little mud cats.
Nice.
But yeah, we finally ate some fish. Caught a few. It's slow though. So the 2 guys that were back out there last night that fish at night, and they left before we did. So they must not have been doing any good as well.
It hurts my heart to see that. So I had last week off. I took vacation for a week, and every day, I don't even know when this started, but basically every single day, maybe even twice a day for the past month, my father-in-law has been doing this to me. I get these pictures every single day. Like, this doesn't even do it justice. I got like 3 pictures this morning. So he's like, you need to get out here, come and do some fishing. So one day I was like, okay, let's get out there. I go, and I filmed all of this. It's going to be in the video. I'm leaving all of it in too. So I go out and I get absolutely skunked, like hard. And this is, mind you, I was so proud. I ended 2024 on a 3-run streak where I had 3 great fishing trips. And I was like, you know what, 2025, I'm going to see how long I can extend this. Right out of the gate, failed. So I was like, well, damn it. Then I'm going to take revenge. That's going to be the arc of the video that I'm making, is I'm going to go back out there. And so I went back out like 3 days later, had really nice conditions, and caught a hardhead. I was killing, and he's like, the day before, he's like showing me these pictures. He's like, I don't know what you did the other day, but today it's killing. So I go the next day, and I get absolutely skunked again, just a hardhead. So I went out another day, went out for like an hour, and the girls were with me. We decided we were going to go watch the turtle release instead of spending too much time on the fishing. So I'm not counting that one too much. But I have the 3rd trip coming up now, where that's going to be like the redemption trip of this whole video, because last week was rough. I was not able to get anything. So kicking things off here, what the topic of conversation for tonight? Jerry, you just spent a couple of days over at the Houston Boat Show, and so that's going to be the primary thing like we're going to be talking about tonight. Got some questions for you about that. But before we get into the questions on it, tell us about your experience at the boat show. What was it like? What were the neat things that you were seeing over there? What did we all miss by not being there?
Well, yeah, it was very interesting. There are a lot of neat products in there. There's just some, I don't know if we're going to get into the kind of the general trends in the boating industry, but some of the key things that you continue to see is things like pontoon boats continue to be extremely popular. Everybody's producing a pontoon boat now. Makes it hard to shop for one, actually, because they start to look a lot alike. Then you see the growth in outboard powered boats. And so, you may be familiar with the Mercruiser stern drive. Well, that part of the boating industry is dead. there's almost no boats now that make stern drive engines. And so they've all moved to outboards. And so even at the Houston Boat Show, you see these beautiful saltwater boats with multiple, 400 plus horsepower outboard engines in the back. And so that's been a trend towards outboard propulsion and multiple outboard engines. And then another observation too from the show is it's, I think, a decent time to actually be looking for a boat. So you're probably all aware that during COVID, it was nuts. And if you want a boat, there was no negotiation. And oftentimes you had to buy it sight unseen because they were all spoken for. You had to pay MSRP price, but that's not the case now. So that whole cycle has ended. And I think last year the industry was pretty tough. And so you're starting to see, when you go to the boat show, you're seeing some pretty good deals out there. And so again, I think it's a decent time to be shopping for a boat once again, if you're inclined to buy new.
It's my hopes that right now you have a lot of people who during the pandemic, they went and got into their boats. And hopefully those guys are all now losing their jobs and they need to sell off these boats. Cheap.
Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because that's one of the industry studies that I was commissioned to do. Is after that big spike in bringing people into the industry, but they were worried about people exiting the industry. And so the question let's understand the whole boater experience and the boater journey, and what can we do to kind of keep people from getting out of the category. And so that was their fear. That is their fear. It continues to be a fear that people are going to buy a boat, they got into it, do it for a few years, say, "Oh, this is not for me," and then sell it and get out of boating altogether. Mm-hmm. And so that's actually one of the studies that I did a few years back.
Nice.
Yeah, I would be interested in seeing some of the results on that. I'm curious how that affects the industry, largely. We do have a question from the chat. We Go Fishing says, "Are lithium batteries worth it?" And I'm kind of, I have thoughts on the, I'm curious about electric stuff as well.
I can answer that completely. And I'm actually going to direct you to my website too, because I actually have some resources there to answer that question. I've on my website, Boater Input, I've got 2 videos. One is a lithium battery right for you? And is a lithium battery cost justified? Okay, so first let's talk about, is a lithium battery right for you? Lithium has a lot of benefits. So first of all, we're talking about deep cycle, not cranking batteries. They are starting to make lithium for cranking batteries. Most lithium batteries you do not want to use for that purpose. You could destroy your battery, and that's a very expensive proposition. So we're talking deep cycle. The advantage of the lithium is you will stay at constant power as that battery draws down. And so you won't have any degradation in your performance. And you can cycle them many more times than you can a lead acid battery. And so for that reason, and the other thing too is lithium batteries don't mind being in a state of discharge. Versus if you have a lead acid battery, if you discharge them and you don't charge them back up pretty quickly, you're actually deteriorating your battery. Lithiums are much more tolerant that way. So they're a little bit, easier to maintain from that standpoint. You can get more cycles out of it. So then that gets into the financial benefits of a lithium. And so nowadays the price of lithium batteries are coming down. And so it depends on the price you pay for the lithium battery versus the lead acid. How often you go out boating, because that's going to dictate how many times you're going to have to recharge that. And so that'll dictate how many lead acid batteries it would take to equate to the cost of one lithium. So I've got a cost calculator on my website that you can just put in based on the price you would see for a lithium, price for a lead acid, and how often you go boating, and how long you go out, and it'll calculate for you how long it'll take to break even. In my case, I think it was about 8 years based on the prices when I did it about a year ago. It took about 8 years before it's cost benefit justified. But even apart from that, you also have the performance benefits that I mentioned earlier, plus they're a lot less weight. And so that's important, because if you haven't noticed, these fishing boats today are rigged out with a lot of electronics. And the number one reason for boat failures on the water, dead battery. And so having a lithium battery or taking more lithium batteries can help you make sure that you're not running down your stuff. And because you cut the weight down, you could actually carry more batteries.
What's the life? What's the lifespan? You mentioned the 8 years before you recovered your money. What's the lifespan on lithium?
Lithium is something like, if I recall correctly, like a couple of thousand cycles, whereas a lead acid battery, you may be getting maybe 500 cycles. Okay, so you're going to get a lot more life out of it. It may be, and I'm probably underserving it. It's probably more than 2,000 cycles. And so a cycle is you run it down, you charge it back up.
What if it never runs down? Say you've got it hooked up to a solar charger.
Yeah. So the battery is going to stay. So the way they kind of think about the life of a lead acid and a lithium battery is cycles, and that's why they actually call it deep cycle. You're actually running it down, charging it back up. And so that's kind of the critical factor that affects its life, is how many recharges you can get out of it. So if you're not using it down, it's going to last you longer. That's not always the case. Like with lead acid batteries, if you didn't use your battery, they will eventually degrade, and the lithium will too, but the lithium will take longer.
Okay. Well, I asked because I've got solar chargers on my lithium batteries on my trail cameras. So my lithium batteries inside stay at 100%. Because of that solar charger.
Yeah. So
I'm wondering if the batteries are going to last longer since they stay fully charged.
Yeah, so they started to get into some other complicated factors too, because I think lithium batteries, I think they actually prefer, if I'm not mistaken, to be drawn down away and then recharge. If you keep cycling, I think you'll actually start to shorten its life.
Okay.
And they don't mind being drawn down. Like I said, lead acid batteries, you don't want to do that. If you keep a lead acid battery and you don't recharge it, something called sulfaction will occur. And you get built up on your crystals, and it shorten the life.
Right. Okay.
We got another question in the chat. Oh, I'm sorry, Grant. Go ahead. What do you say?
Say I'm typically 3 years on a battery.
That's about right. Yeah, 5 years. That's a pretty typical.
On a lithium.
No, regular lead acid.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just
that's
a
pretty
boat, a car, a truck, everything. About 3 years.
And by the way, a side note, because I mentioned earlier that the number one on-water failure is a dead battery. That's the bad news. The good news is that's actually the most preventable failure on the water, because you don't necessarily know when your battery's about to fail. Because I got stuck this past year. But if you take one of those, like a NOCO Boost portable chargers, lithium chargers. The one I have is 1,000 amp hours. It cost me $100. You just put the jumper cables on, push a button, and you jump yourself. So you don't have to worry about getting stuck out in the bay, get out in the middle of the lake. So I recommend that to all boaters. That you should.
That's the reason I'm there, is to get stuck. What the hell? No,
I was going to say that's a good video you can make with a affiliate link to whichever charger you like.
Yeah, exactly. And so I did a whole video talking about that. And, I think it was about, within the last 5 years, over half of boaters have failed on the water at some point within the past 5 years. And the number one reason within that is dead battery. Gotcha. So it's an important issue.
Oh, we have a question in the chat, and Edward, I'm going to get to you in just a moment here, man. But since we're on the topic of electronics, I'm really curious. So I fell in love with the hydrofoil boats, and I forget the names of the brands. But the boats, those guys who have the hydrofoils and they have like the dual outboard electronic thing. Do you have any insight on those?
Yep.
Like where they're headed with that?
I do. And it's, first of all, question, do you know why they're going to hydrofoils?
Well, I mean, my immediate thought on that, because I put a lot of thought, my thought is that is a hypothetically faster option. I don't think they're there yet, but I think that, like, my idea is when I'm going out fishing, one of the big pain points is the amount of time it takes to get from point A to point B. And I think hydrofoil hypothetically should be faster. Also, there's less friction, so they should hypothetically be able to move easier.
Okay, so the move towards hydrofoil, and I don't know if we're going to talk about industry trends. There's been this crazy, somewhat irrational push towards electric propulsion in boats. And we could talk a little bit about that. But with that came foiling. And the reason why foiling is an outshoot from that is because it's more efficient. It's going to be less drag when you're going with a foil. So that's why they have that. In fact, you can look at, really cool to look at is the eSeries.com and then /Warbirds, I think it is. There's a whole racing circuit made with these foiling boats. Tom Brady has a boat. One of the best test players in the world has a boat. And so they have this little racing circuit made with these foiling boats that look like giant mosquitoes that buzz around a track. But it's because of the growth of electric propulsion and the need to reduce the friction, because, and this gets into the whole trend towards electric propulsion, it's not as obvious of a fit with boating than it is with automobiles. And I don't know if we want to table that for later on or what, but there's been a big push towards it. Not terribly successful thus far. And there's some key reasons why it makes less sense environmentally and why it makes less sense from a performance standpoint. So we could talk about that now, or I can bring that up later on, whichever you prefer.
I was trying to find some pictures of those boats you're talking about, and I'm having a little difficulty on it. But
I'll look over my other tab, make sure I got that right. It goes eSeries.com, I believe it is. It could be I'm sorry, it's probably E1 series.
Okay, so it is. I've got E1 series here,
and
it didn't have a whole lot of pictures on the site to be able to really pull up.
So if there may be E-Series, E1 series, and then I think /Warbirds will show you some individual craft that are pretty cool. Is it Warbirds? It's is that the name of them? Oh shoot! It's it's not Warbirds.
Racebird.
Racebird. There you go. That's it. Racebirds. I don't know if it's plural or singular. Race birds. Okay, well, I'm striking out here.
Oh, good. I got it here.
Yeah. Okay, that's it.
So,
okay. Giant mosquito.
This is what I'm talking about when I'm looking for a fishing boat. This is exactly it. We just need some rod holders on there.
What are you trying to catch?
Everything. I don't recall the names of the boats. It's an outfit. They're in San Francisco, I believe, is where they're based out of. But they have gotten really into. God, I wish I could remember their name. I love these boats. I think that it is the first generation, and I love the hydrofoil design. I love the idea of just they are so much more efficient. The fact that you can do them full electric the way that they are. And the way that the boats control and everything, I just absolutely love. I don't feel like it's consumer friendly yet. And that's just one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, is because I wanted you to like talk me down and be like, dude, this is where the industry's headed. This is what's going to be available. It's like $10,000 for a brand new one right now. Like, these are the things I'm looking forward to.
You're talking about just electric outboard. Is that what you're talking about?
An electric outboard, but really I'm so sold on the hydrofoil thing. I can't wait for this to be a more consumer friendly.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a while before it gets there. So we'll talk about that now then, if you'd like. So first of all, let me explain why. So the industry's made this huge push because they followed the automotive industry to make a huge push towards electric propulsion in boats. There is a key reason why it makes less environmental sense for boating, and that is the carbon footprint of that is emitted from the life of a boat. 50% comes from the production, 40% comes from the operation, the last 10% is from the disposal. So 50% of the carbon footprint of boats comes from the production itself. Only 40% comes from the actual usage, because boats are used a lot less often than automobiles. So on an automobile, 10% is from production, 85% is emitted from the usage. So just from a green standpoint, it makes more ecological sense for cars than boats. Then you factor in some of the challenges in e-propulsion boats, which is you've got greater friction. So we talked about that while they're moving to foiling to try to reduce that friction. Boats are usually run at or close to top speed. And so the range is a big limiting factor. But I'm actually working with a company right now, which I can't disclose, but it's a whole product innovation thing where they're looking at again, some new boats that are going to be electronic propulsion, but there's some challenge. And then you don't have some of the things like regenerative braking on boats like you do with cars. And so you deplete the battery, it reduces your range. And so it's not a natural fit in boating, but there's still a lot of effort, a lot of people chasing that.
Getting caught up in the chat here. Is this in response? Have we touched on We Go Fishing's question on this? Is that what we were?
The first or the second?
The second one. How evil and destructive is FFS? I'm not familiar with FFS.
Oh, forward-facing sonar. Oh.
Okay,
wow.
So I'm sorry. I wasn't sure what FFS was.
Yeah,
so I thought it might be in
that's a
response to the
whole
electric
nother topic and controversial topic. I do think it's dramatically changed tournament fishing completely. And it's going to have an impact on like crappie populations and stuff too, because people they're harvesting a lot of fish and the better quality fish. So it is going to, I think, I just saw a study that I think it was Alabama that did. It was over $800,000 study. And it wasn't on forward facing specifically, but it showed that the mortality rate of bass fishing, from you put it in the live well, you drag it around all day, it was high. It was over 60% mortality rate.
Wow.
And so you couple that with forward-facing sonar, and you're harvesting the better fish. It's gonna hurt your fish population, I believe.
Oh, that's a bummer. I was completely unfamiliar with this one. We don't use it. I do a lot of offshore, so. Yeah, I was completely unfamiliar with that one.
It's very controversial because what's also happened is I think viewership of like the bass fishing shows has gone way down because you're just watching someone like this all day. They're looking down at their screen.
I'm going to add on to that. I understand, but I will say my argument on that is going to be the viewership of that has gone down because viewership of YouTube has gone up. I think that viewership has not only moved over to YouTube, but I think it's multiplied.
I would agree with that. I mean, because, I watch fishing videos probably every day, and I'm there to get instruction. I'm not there just for entertainment. Okay, when I want the entertainment, I got to get on the lake myself. I go there to get instruction and tips and all that kind of stuff, which you get much more of that on the YouTube videos.
And you're right about that. So instruction is a large part of that. The entertainment,
some people
try, but it's a little bit more difficult.
Well, yeah, I think, there's guys like Ben Milliken. Okay, that's kind of his thing. He was very much entertainment, but also a little bit of instruction. So there's definitely an audience for that. My personal taste is I like to go there just to get information.
Yep. Got a question from Edward. He was asking this a minute ago. We kind of glossed over. Didn't mean to do that, Edward. Sorry about that. Is there a flatbed boat that will dethrone kayak? Like a boat, I'm assuming what we're talking about here is a boat that you can load into your truck to go out there that's going to be a better option than a kayak.
Yeah, I hear that because I've got a brother who is, he doesn't have a boat and he's wanted one and he didn't want to do the kayak thing. He's my age or a little bit younger. He just didn't want to do that. And so he wanted something a little bit more stable, better manageable. There really isn't a great option in between there. But some of the kayaks are pretty good. They make some pretty nice wide kayaks, but it's still not the same as actually having an actual boat. And then they have those small kind of roto-molded what they call buddy boats that you see at a Bass Pro Shop. But those are, I think, pretty clunky. It would be kind of hard to maneuver that. So now Brunswick came out with something a couple of years ago, and I actually did some of the research before they actually introduced it. It's called Veer, V-E-E-R. And it is a smaller kind of roto-molded plastic boat. Now, I don't know if it might be a flat bottom boat. So, that's kind of in that genre, but it is still fairly expensive. And that was one of the things that they wanted to package with their electric engine too. So that's, Veer boats. They have a picture of one there.
They did.
Trying to get you.
Yeah, I had to sign up to get it. Let me see I'll see if I can pull up some images here.
But that's, it's probably not going to be, so it's that teal looking boat.
Gotcha.
Oh, what am I doing? Why am I doing that here?
So it's just gonna be somebody's personal preference and what they can afford. You know, if
Yeah.
all they can afford is a couple $100 kayak, that's what they're gonna use. You know.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this boat is going to cost a bit more than that. But it is kind of that lightweight. It's that plastic. It's more portable. You don't need a SUV or a truck to pull it. But I don't remember what it costs, but I think it's probably north of 10 grand.
Yeah.
This looks like a millennial's John boat.
Right.
I kind of dig it. Like I kind of like this design. I'm not gonna lie.
You know, instead of a 2-man boat, it's just the millennial 1-man boat.
Yeah. That's what I'm gonna have to look into right there, if for nothing else, for YouTube purposes.
You still got to get your John boat out there.
Stop it, John.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I suppose before I buy a boat, I should get the one that I have working.
But yeah, that's a good question, though. There really is not a great stepping stone between kayak into it's like a fishing boat. So the closest that comes to it in terms of being affordable is Tracker has something called the Classic. And so with the Classic, it's a throwback to the early days when they first introduced the Mod V aluminum fishing boat, and they kept it at a very friendly price. So it's boat, motor, and package for, I think, a little over 10 grand. So not bad. But otherwise, there's a big step up in terms of your pricing from a kayak into a actual boat.
I want to say, I think I've seen some of those skiffs at the tackle outfit down here in Corpus Roy's. And I know they're real big on skiffs. It's a big kayak outfitter, and they have all of the options. But I want to say that you can get like 1-2-person skiffs for what, $4,000 or $5,000, somewhere in that range. I think that probably includes like a trailer. Am I wrong on that? I feel like that's the pricing I've seen with it.
I don't have a clue. All I've ever bought's used.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the best when it comes to boats. I don't know that much about it. I know that I've looked at them a few times and I've kind of priced them or tried to price them. Put an idea to how much it would cost if I were to jump in. And I want to say it was like $4,000 or $5,000 for one of those little 1-person skiffs.
And by the way, those kayaks now are also getting ridiculously expensive. You could trick some of those out for about 20 grand.
Yeah,
the whole kayak tournament thing. Yeah, nuts.
I'm not gonna lie. That's one of my goals with the John boat is to fix that thing up, the one that I got, because we got it in like 1994. I got a little engine on Amazon, and I want to just clean the thing up, use it for a few fishing trips, and I'm gonna need to upgrade. It's too small for my family, so.
Yeah, I know where you get a Grady White to be right size for your family.
Yeah. I do agree with that. Maybe not a twin engine Grady White. That might be a little oversized for me. One that I was never invited out on.
Those are nice boats. And by the way, Express makes really good boats, by the way. I've actually been in contact with them, and I'm hoping to maybe go up and visit their plant and perhaps shoot a video, kind of walk through and talk about what to look for in a quality boat. So I've been chatting with them.
Nice.
On that note, I'm kind of curious. So you went to the Houston Boat Show. You've been in the industry for 30 years now. You got a ton of experience. What were your biggest takeaways from the boat show? What were the things you saw that really caught your eye?
Well, some of the specific products we're going to talk about in just a little bit, and I will say that going into the show, and this will be a little bit of disappointment to you, Stanley, is I'm less up to date on some of the new innovations and stuff in the saltwater side. So there's some beautiful looking saltwater boats there. I just didn't know enough to say, okay, this is new and different from what they've done beforehand. So I focused more on some of the freshwater products that we're going to, I think, talk about a little bit later.
That's totally fine. And we can look at those now.
Yeah,
good time
let's
for
jump
it
in.
Is
whichever order you have them, it's fine. Okay, so we'll start with that Tracker boat on the right. Okay, so that's the brand new 215 Savage. It's one of the few that was actually available. They drug it down to the Houston Boat Show to put it on display. And what's unique about it is a couple of things. First of all, if you notice it looks like a fiberglass boat. Now, they're not the first to do that. Vexus did that a number of years ago. But what's different is when you get into the Tracker brand, you're talking about value, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. So you got the look, and from what I'm told, the ride quality of fiberglass in a much more affordable boat. And so, the nice aspect about that. So you take this boat here, and the one they had to show was similar like this, but without the power poles in the back. You have a 21-foot boat, and if you equipped it with a 200 horsepower engine, and you upgrade their electronics, and that's one of the things you have to know about Tracker is to keep a price point. They'll put in a low-grade electronics, which is usually inadequate if you're anyway at all serious about fishing. But if you put the 200 horsepower on this 21-foot boat with trailer, and you upgrade the electronics to give you an Ultrix trolling motor, which gives you the spot lock feature, 2 9-inch screens, one of which has live scope or fast forward-facing sonar, that boat's about $56,000 compared to a fiberglass boat of that same size and equipping would be about $15,000 to $25,000 more. So. That's a big deal. If you're serious about fishing, but you don't really want to spend $75,000, $85,000, $100,000, this is an option for you. And by the way, I know quite a bit about Tracker. They were a client of mine for 17 years. And so I know people think of Tracker, they think of cheap, low quality. But the reality is, because like I said, some of their products are better than others. They do a very good job with their Mod Vs because that's what they've been producing from the beginning, and they produce a lot of them, so they have that down. But what I mentioned a moment ago, when you go with the Tracker, you may need to upgrade or switch out some of the electronics because they may be putting in some lower price point stuff. Yeah, so I see a comment there about the large center consoles, and that is, I think I kind of talked about the trend towards outboards and multiple outboards. And the increasing size of outboard engines, they are using outboards to power boats that has historically would have been like an inboard engine. Now they're just hanging 4, 6 outboards on back. It's crazy. Okay, so anyway, so we just talked about if you want to go back to that previous slide, I'll talk about that other product that was on there. So on the left side, that is body buoy. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, you Stanley, if you're like this, if I'm out on a hot day and let's say I'm skiing and wakeboarding, we'll grab a bite to eat and then we'll oftentimes put a life jacket on upside down, putting our legs through the armholes and jump in the water. Well, this guy took that idea and made a product out of it. So it's this life jacket. It's like a class 3 life jacket. That you can just wear down. So what it does is it gives you more upper body mobility, which is great for paddle sports, or if you just want to hang around and float in the lake. So that's what he produced, and that's a $70 item.
Wow.
Neat.
I'm having a little bit of a little.
You want to wear the diaper?
I want to be. I don't want to be disrespectful because I like people innovating and I like there being people putting products out there. I would have a difficult time with this. And part of it is, so I grew up a surfer and I still have a little bit of that surfer, mentality when I'm out at the beach and stuff. And like my surf trunks are an extension of who I am. And I can't, I have a hard time with the, I have a hard time with anything that covers them up like that.
Well, and that makes sense too. I think this is probably better suited if you're doing like paddle sports and you want to keep your upper body more not impinged.
I could see that for like a kiteboarder. I could see that being a kiteboarder thing.
Or if you're just someone who wants to just jump in the lake, like in Texas, as you know, it gets bloody hot here. And so just float. We just sometimes just like to float in the lake and have a beverage. And so that'd be great for that application.
Yeah. So does it keep your upper body out of the water more, I guess?
It does. And if you were just to completely relax, you would just kind of float horizontally. So it's not like a type 1 life vest that if you were unconscious, it'd hold you up. It's like a type 3. So you still have to be conscious to use it.
And that is very fair, Ben. I don't even, I think I wore shoes like 3 times last year. So fair Well played. Next up, so this was at the boat show.
Yeah. So yeah, the Houston Boat Show a few years back combined with the automotive. They call it the automotive show now, to be clever. And so half of the it's at the Energy Stadium in Houston, Energy Center in Houston, and half of it's got vehicles on display and half of it has boats. Now I focused 99.5% of my time on the boats, and I just walked through the cars at the end just because I thought they were kind of cool looking. And I don't remember. I think the lower left is, I think it's a Lotus, if I'm not mistaken. The upper right may be a Lamborghini. The purple one may be a Lamborghini. And then, of course, you got the Batmobile, which is a throwback to my childhood.
It wasn't that long ago. Adam West, he's still a known name.
Yeah, but
I used to love that show. I'm not ready to get dated yet here, okay?
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. They did a great job of doing the little cliffhangers at the end of the show. You know, is that he's strapped to a table and there's this blade saw and he's moving towards it. Will he get away? So you got to tune in next time to see it. So they were great at doing that. Get you hooked.
Hey, hunting and stuff with J&J. Good to see you, man. It's been a minute.
Yeah, been a minute for sure.
Okay, so on this page, I wanted to, I spent a lot of time looking at boats, but I also want to kind of look at some kind of cool or unusual products. And so there are two different products on this page. The one on the right and the top left is the surfboard. It's basically a motorized wakeboard. And there's apparently a whole racing circuit using those things. And so it's a titanium board, and they have it with either a gas engine or electric engine. And it's you stand up on it, as you see the young lady there, and you ride it kind of like a wakeboard. So you can go wakeboarding without a boat. So if you're athletic and you kind of like doing those kind of water sports activity, that's a cool option. It's not inexpensive. I think that was $10,000 to $15,000, depending on the kind of models you get. So not cheap. So this is someone you got to have some money and you want your water toys. And then on the bottom, the bottom one, you see that again, another use of foiling. And so those are flight boards, which are surprisingly, Brunswick actually acquired them, I think last year or the year before, one or the other. And so that's an electric powered board. And so you have to go between 10 to 13 miles an hour, and then it will hover above the water. So, so that's kind of cool there too. And those range in price from $7,000 up to $18,000. So a big range there, depending on, the motor, the battery, the foil that you choose. And so again, it's not an inexpensive toy. It's just something kind of unusual.
What's unfortunate about that, and we got to skip along here, we're in just a little bit short on time, but what's unfortunate is it's got to be 10 to 13 miles an hour, which is just above trolling speed. As soon as they can accomplish that ride at 7 knots, then we're talking.
Yeah.
I want to be holding onto a rod while I'm driving that thing offshore.
Okay, so let's talk with I'll first talk about the Sea-Doo, the jet ski one first. That's the Fish Pro Apex. And so they've had the Fish Pro for a number of years. The Apex just adds a bigger 300 horsepower engine. So if you're a thrill seeker, but you want to slow down and fish, there's your ticket. So it's got like a 9-inch graph on it. You've got a live well in the back. You've got an elevated seat. It's kind of hard to see. There's an elevated seat that you can pop out, and you can make it just another extra passenger seat. But you could have that elevated seat. You've got rod holders back there. But that's a pretty expensive craft too. That's about $25,000 in that model, but they have lesser models with smaller engines for about $15,000. Now, so yeah, it's not inexpensive, but it's really, again, it's like kind of unique. Thrill seeker, likes to occasionally fish. My only issue with that is I can't imagine you're using the jet engine to get to your spot, but then you're kind of dead in the water because you've got no paddle, no trolling motor. And so maneuvering your craft is going to be very limiting. So I don't, that certainly wouldn't work for my needs. And
Trolling
then
motor option on that would be interesting.
yeah, see, I think that would really make it something if they figured that one out. Now, in the top right is an unusual product. It's called the Sea-Doo Switch Fish. So the Sea-Doo introduced the Switch series in, I think, 2023, and I wrote about it on my Boater Input site, boaterinput.com site at the time, and I said that my one criticism, so first of all, my one criticism is it wasn't conducive for fishing. The whole idea behind the Sea-Doo Switch is it's what they call a Lego boat, meaning the inside, the flooring is a bunch of tiles that you can pop up your seats and put them wherever you want, configure them in any way that you want. And that goes with the accessories too, in terms of coolers, storage, live well. So you can move things around to conform to your needs. And so with the Switch Fish, which they just introduced, they've now finally addressed the fishing issue. So now instead of the bench seats that you would see in a normal pontoon, you've got pedestal seats that can go in there. Yeah, so there's some different models. So you got pedestal seats that you can move around, and they have a graph, fish finder, 7 or 9 inch, I don't remember which, at the helm, and up at the bow, you've got your trolling motor. You've got a live well too. So you've got a lot of the fishing features plus those pedestal seats. Now you can still buy more bench seats too. So if you want to go pleasure cruising and take all your friends, you can buy some extra seats, plop them in there that day, and you've got a cruising vessel. But if you want to go fishing, you can put in 2, 4, or however many pedestal seats you want. So it's kind of meant for both of those. The other thing that's a bit unusual about this too is it's a jet-powered pontoon boat versus most of them are outboard. And so, pluses and minuses with that. For moms with young kids, sometimes they feel more safe with the jet propulsion. And then the pontoons themselves are not like aluminum pontoons. They're actually like a rotomold plastic. So if you've ever seen the Sea-Doo Spark, it's that same kind of hard plastic material, which I think would probably be easier to maintain. So the price of the Sea-Doo Switch is it starts at around, they range in size from 18 feet to 21 feet, and you can get them with up to a 230 horsepower jet engine, and the price ranges from about the low to mid 40s up into the low 50s for that, brand new, which may sound like a lot, but that's still a bit cheaper than a lot of your other pontoons that you would buy new.
Yeah, it's not for that amount of family on there.
Yeah, so it's not for everyone, but it's a sportier pontoon too. So rather than the steering wheel, you've got handlebars. It can turn on a dime with that jet engine. Okay, so you can turn right in place. So it's going to be a little bit sportier. It's not going to have the creature comforts and the luxury of a traditional pontoon. So if that's what you want, that's not for you. But if you're looking for something sportier and a little bit lower in price, then that's something to consider.
Yeah, that black and green one in the picture, I could see that one being used for duck hunting.
Sorry about that. And okay, so my apologies. We're running just a little bit short on time. We need to do, we need to take a look at our photos of the week from the Discord server. So, Jerry, join us on this. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at, for those of us who maybe got skunked in multiple fishing trips over the course of an entire week, I want to go into the Discord server and I want to enjoy all of the good times that everybody else has been having. And so that's what the entire purpose of this is. As soon as I can pull it up here. Here it is. Okay, so this is our photos of the week, brought to you by the Premier Fishing Hunting Discord server. If you haven't joined, you need to go ahead and do so, and this is why. Because all these guys are getting to go out and have all of these good times outdoors, like, of course, Wild Japan, going out on the canals and looking for some fish with his daughter. And Bailey, we got your duck up there, man.
Nice.
Enjoy just being able to get a little bit of fresh air outside with these guys. Ben Kovrubius, if he's still on the chat, he went out, did some fishing. Bottom right corner, he was out at the docks or something, and there was just massive schools of perch he was seeing out there.
Good job, Ben.
Yeah. Good job getting out there and getting your first fish of 2025, too. And I feel you. I need a little bit of that dolphin dock time myself, man. Let me know when you're in the area.
Okay, so some stripers.
Mm-hmm.
That's Michael finally getting into it. It's been a minute since we've heard from this gentleman, but yeah, he gets out there 2025, had a little fun at night, got himself some stripers. Good one down there in the bottom right corner.
Very nice. Good fighting fish too.
Yeah. Mike's good about that. He gets into some good fish. And then we got, this is G Llama. He is one of the moderators in our Discord server. Has had a couple of days. Hey, look. That's Gunpoint. Sorry, Gunpoint, I saw you pop in, man, and I thought you were G Llama. We'll be getting to you in just a second. All of our moderators are G Llama, Gunpoint Llama. It's confusing. G Llama's out of Australia. He managed to go get some fishing done on the rocks on the coastline. He's got some cool stuff coming up. And he went and did some gigging for, we call him flounder. I don't know what they call him in Australia. Or I forget what they call him.
Very nice.
He got himself some good fish, though. It's nice seeing him out there getting some fresh air. It's like peak summertime for them right now.
He's got a hoodie on, though.
Yeah, well, he's a metalhead. He's going to wear that hoodie. It could be 110 degrees outside. He's going to have the hoodie on. There's G Llama, or Gunpoint Llama.
Looks cold to me.
Yeah. He's trying out the new Sonar, playing with that figure, and obviously he's doing pretty decent with it because he's catching himself some good fish. He had a couple of trips out there on the water that he was doing.
Caught a bunch.
He's getting them. I think he's got another trip he's playing this weekend, although he's having issues finding his GoPro. You're going to have to get your hands on that, man. You got to get yourself a video.
Pickles.
Specs.
Nice trout.
And Pickles, one of our resident Floridians. He was having a rough day, he said. He was only able to get himself a couple of speckled trout. Not a good representative sample for anybody in the Florida area. So this is a huge disappointment for all of us. Otter got himself turned on to a good fish. I believe that's his first of 2025. Congratulations on that. Pickles here says that's saltwater 24/7. We saw many redfish and tarpon they didn't want to eat. Welcome to Texas.
Yeah, we've all had days like that.
Mm-hmm. I had a couple myself last week, so that's why I'm rubbing it in. And then we've got We Go Fishing.
There we go.
Yeah.
Big old big uglies.
He caught these the day that I got skunked.
He was in the wrong spot.
Yeah, I was in the wrong spot. I didn't get an invite that day. I don't know what's up with that. After I did a whole thing on his popping corks in my most recent video, which you need to check out because I'm a big fan of the popping corks. I'm just not that big of a fan of the manufacturer anymore. Oh yeah, I was using shrimp, and to be honest with you, I got a little bit cheap with it. I didn't get live shrimp, and I don't know that the bait stand sold me the best not quite live shrimp. I'll be honest about that. I don't know how much that played into it, but I have some suspicions.
I thought maybe he didn't want you showing big fish on your channel. He didn't want to show you how to do it.
Yeah, that's wouldn't be the first time that's happened. And well deserved, because I'm that guy that doesn't like showing off secrets. I'll be honest with you, I am making a stance on that this year where I am going to show more stuff. I don't care if I'm selling out good fishing spots or letting my secrets out there. I'm not letting everything go, but I feel like I kind of owe it to everybody who's stuck with us the last 8 years. So I'm going to start being a little bit more open about stuff.
Nice. Way to go, Ben and Karen.
Yeah. Congratulations, guys. That's a heck of a day out there.
Mm-hmm.
More cold weather.
Yep.
Yeah, they can't all be Texas. I will say, Bacon Rider, I don't know what camera you're using for that shot, but you're doing it right. That is an awesome looking shot of that crappie.
Yep, nice perch over there on the other side too.
Yep. Cold water, you're doing it good, man.
Fat belly.
What's up, Terry B? Good to see you, sir. He just got called off. He was going to do a Flower Gardens run. He was not able to do it. Bums me out.
Ooh, big perch.
Yeah. It's a nice bluegill too.
Mm-hmm.
Good fish all the way around, especially considering how much ice these guys are all suffering through.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of people falling through the ice. It's dangerous with the way the temperatures are up and down.
Snowmobiles, yep, four-wheelers.
It ain't worth it, man.
Nope.
If you're thinking about, if you have to sit there and think about whether or not you should drive it on the drive out on the ice, just suck it up and drive down to Texas. We got you covered. It ain't worth it. Now, last week we were left in a deadlock between these two gentlemen as to who should be winning, and it ended up, so we put it in the polls on the Discord server. Sammy managed to win it with one vote. Bailey, I am so sorry, man. You got an awesome photo. That is a great catch. You got beat by a single vote, and I am sorry to say that. Sammy, that is well-deserved, sir, and congratulations.
I'm demanding a recount. We needed that bufflehead on there.
This was the recount. You want a third one?
Hey, in the past, if we had ties, we put them both on.
That's true. That's true.
I know, but did you not see the massive? We'll get to that. I'll show you the massive amount of photos in a moment here that I had to do this with last year. You don't understand them. I'll get to it in a minute. And Bailey, I'm not saying that you don't have another option. There might be some second chances for you. Just not this week. I'm tired. It's been a long week, and Sammy won 2 votes, or got a tie and won a vote. So, as it stands right now, Sammy has been added to the 2025 Wall of Fame. Congratulations on that, sir. Thank you for both of you guys for doing a fantastic job. Please go out there and get some more. We really appreciate having you. Oh, no. We're not voting just yet, Edward. The ones we're going to be voting for, so that was last week. For this week, the ones we're going to be voting on are going to be... We Go Fishing, Michael and Bacon Rider. Cast your vote now and let us know who should be the photographer of the week for this week. Let me write down my notes here, see who we got.
See, last week the two guests both voted for the duck picture. They weren't in chat. They just voted on screen, so their votes didn't count.
Well, I'm going with C. I like the photo. He's completely in the photo, and he's got a great crappie on there, and I think the wall needs a nice crappie.
You know what? I agree with that. I'm going to do the same. And here's just before I cast my vote, I want to say, Michael, that is a great shot. I love to see your pretty face. Love to see stripers on here, man. Yeah. But between you and Bacon Rider, I think that shot is just fantastic. And if we're going to have a crappie shot on the Wall of Fame, that needs to be it. Ben, you got the best fish of the week, and that is a fantastic catch. Unfortunately, we know that you're going to get like 8 of these this year. And I have faith that you're going to pull like a 44, 45-inch redfish for the Wall of Fame. I know Karen's going to take it out with a 44, 45-inch redfish. So I'm not giving it to you with the drum. Also, if we're going to get a drum on the Wall of Fame, it's going to be me once I finally get into one of those things Rich has been like bragging about. So that's why I'm voting the way that I am with C. I'm going Bacon Rider.
I think that was the winning vote right there, unless we got more people to vote.
I'm counting them up right now.
I think
Jerry voted A in the private chat.
Yep.
Okay.
So I had one more A.
Oh, thank you. I didn't see the other tab.
All good. And that looks like it. That was the tiebreaker. Am I right? Did Ben win?
C1.
C1.
Aren't there?
Oh.
Oh,
I'm blind. I saw Grant's A and I thought it was a lowercase c. I'm sorry.
I might have done the same thing.
I was about to be all excited for Ben. I was about to feign excitement for Ben. Monica, we have one extra vote in the private chat over here. That's what swayed it. From Mr. Jerry Mona down here. So, on that note, congratulations, Bacon Rider. You are our winner of the week, sir. That is a great photo. All of you guys did a fantastic job. Ben, you're amazing. You know I love you, man. You could give it. I know you're going to get a bunch of those, and I promise you, Ben, I am absolutely sure that you're going to be on the Wall of Fame this year. I have no doubts about that at all. Also, a special thanks to our waitlisters: Pickles, Bailey, G Llama, Gunpoint Llama, Bluegill Toucher, Cold Water Enthusiast, Tacos Locos, and Wild Japan. Guys, we thank all of you. If you want to join us, anybody who has not joined us on the Discord server, you need to. And we were talking a moment ago about all the photos I had to do. That's them in the background right there, I think. Yeah, that's it right here. That was our board for last year. That's a lot of photos to have to do. So,
great job, Stanley. We appreciate you.
I thank you. Thank you, Grant. I appreciate that, man. All right, it is that time, Jerry. Thank you so much, sir. Really, really appreciate having your insight and everything. I hope to see more of you. We hope to be able to bring you back on again because we did not get through enough. I have so many more for you.
I talked a little long there early on.
No. Don't worry about that. We got some needed insight.
Definitely. Some great information. Glad to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. Likewise.
For sure.
It was fun.
Yeah. Excited to have had you. Look forward to doing it again. Grant, John, as well. As usual, guys, always a pleasure. Hope you guys have a wonderful week. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for joining us tonight, guys. Really had a lot of fun being able to hang out with you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we look forward to seeing you again on Tuesday when we do this all over again. Have a wonderful week. Be safe out there. Good night.
Thank you.